Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here at tablemon. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm going to be talking about my EUIC report. I'm still in Europe. I'm going to be here for a few extra days, so that's why the low amount of videos, and that's why you might hear sound from the outside. So please bear with me, but I hope you can hear me properly. A lot of you were interested in how the weekend went. It was a pretty fantastic weekend. I got top 32 at EUIC with this 60 card deck. Arceus Inteleon, pretty straightforward deck overall. There are some cute inclusions into the deck that helped overall, but they weren't as game changing as I expected them to be, especially after playing 14 rounds throughout day one and day two. They definitely, like, there were many times where I feel like they could have been other cards, but let's go over them. Let's go over everything. Yeah, so Arceus Inteleon, pretty standard archetype at this point. Obviously, Arceus can be mixed with a bunch of stuff, but this is one of the most consistent and most successful lists, or concepts rather. To date, just straightforward Arceus with melee support, water energies to be able to use Inteleon as a water type attacker and support. And I did like the inclusion of the 1/1 Bieber line from the Salt Lake City list. I feel like it gave the deck extra stability overall, and you know how, like, I always emphasize on consistency. If I hadn't played the 1/1 Vibrel, I probably would have played a fourth Drizzle and a second quick shooting, Shady Dealings Inteleon, which honestly, sometimes I felt like I wish the Bidoof and the Vibrel had been those cards, especially the second Shady Dealings Inteleon. For some matchups, and just the overall consistency boost of being able to search for any two trainer cards is super, super huge to be able to do a lot of combos and whatnot. Outside of that, we have Dunsparce for weakness protection, obviously, or rather, I didn't expect Urshifu to be that big. At the tournament, I was definitely very surprised. I originally had Dunsparce and Manaphy instead of the Zigzagoon. Obviously, Zigzagoon is useful in the mirror match, so you can chase down an Arceus, but I played against a bunch of Arceus decks, and I'll go over my matchups in a little bit. But I don't think I ever pulled off like that knockout on turn two, like going first, attaching to Arceus, and then on turn two going boss, chasing down my opponent's Arceus and targeting it down. Either they didn't have one that was worth going after, or I was always like one card short or something. So I don't know. The Zigzagoon felt like an okay card, just not that useful. And with the metagame being big on Urshifu right now, I do feel like Manaphy would be the wiser choice moving forward. Then I have 4 quick balls, 3 level balls, 2 instances, and 1 ultra ball. Pretty nice pyramid there. Definitely wish I had a second ultra ball. Definitely wish I had a 4th level ball plenty of times. And those could have also been the Bidoof and the Vibrel. I wouldn't mind them becoming an extra level ball and an extra ultra ball. Then I have the 2 scoop of nets, of course, to utilize, to switch and whatnot, and finally the echoing horn. So going into the weekend, and this is something I think I want to try moving forward. It's like not just going in with a super, super, super standard list. Mostly Arceus VSTAR's ability gives you a lot of consistency, and so does Drizzle, and it lets you search for specific cards at any given point. So playing one-offs is more impactful, right? So that's where the echoing horn. Before the tournament, I really wanted to play a deck or a card rather, that could surprise and swing a matchup and get me out of a bad situation and potentially swing a game. So the echoing horn was, especially, I expected a lot of mirror matches towards the end of the game where resources are running dry, and if you're a little bit behind, your opponent can purposely not bench an Arceus V towards the end and force you to have to knock out an Arceus V star. But with the echoing horn, you can force them to bench one and then target it down and knock it out in one hit, which is pretty fantastic with the choice belt or the extra damage from quick shooting, or even a 6/7 plus scoop up net drop. So it opens up a win condition against a mirror match, which I expected a bunch. I did play a bunch, but I actually was never able to do it. A lot of my opponents that played Arceus, they ended up, I feel like, from my perspective, they were playing very aggressively especially the Arceus Inteleon mirror matches. They were trying to chase down my Arceuses and being aggressive with boss, and therefore like I was more conservative with my share and scare looping, and saving a Palpad for that, and I was able to overwhelm them towards the end of the game because they ended up running out of resources as they were focusing so much on aggression. Their Arceuses just kept going down, right? So that actually made a big difference. Two big charm I feel like was a little too much. One is probably enough, as it's situational, not super useful in a ton of matchups. I feel like choice belt actually I missed choice belt. I missed having choice belt at the right time plenty of times, and it would have made some of the games, especially against Mew, easier because the Mew players were benching Oricorio, and with a double turbo energy attached on my Arceus and a big charm, I wasn't even able to knock out Mew Vs, right? So that's actually pretty awful. So I'm not sure I would play a second choice belt, but I definitely feel like I wouldn't play a second big charm. And then supporters wise, the two Sharon Scare, two Boss, two Marnie, two Research, I feel is pretty standard. A lot of people are only playing one Sharon Scare, but I feel like in the mirror match, that was my edge, right? So I needed two, along with the Palpad. And then one Melanie is definitely very risky. I never priced it, luckily, when I needed it, I don't think. But it's also like it's a low chance of that happening, but it's also like when that happens, that might literally just lose you the game right there if you miss the turn one attachment or something. Right hand was always very, very useful, and I definitely would never not play one in this build in Arceus Inteleon, because powering up the Shade Dealings Inteleon out of the blue, or just powering up an Arceus VSTAR and being able to directly search for the double turbo is actually huge. And then finally we have the 6 waters, the 4 double turbo, pretty standard, but I definitely wish I had at least one more energy, or possibly even two. And then the Path to Peak and Collapse Stadium. Collapse Stadium was actually very useful, especially when you were able to play that as your stadium early on against Mew. It definitely made a big, big difference. And Path to Peak obviously is there to do Path plus Marnie shenanigans. So yeah, I got top 32 for those of you who might not have known. I ended up going 6-1 on day one, round one, playing Inteleon Galarian Birds. I mean, Arceus Galarian Birds, which I won 2-0. Round two, I played against Arceus Gardevoir VMAX, which I won 2-0 as well. Round three, I played Arceus Inteleon again. Not again, sorry, my first mirror match, and I won 2-0 as well. That's the matchup where I felt like my opponent was very aggressive with their bosses rather than being conservative with their Sharons, because we both had two Sharons, and at one point they were ahead, but I was able to turn the game around. And I got another double price penalty in that round because I drew an extra card off the Marnie. I drew 5 when my opponent played it rather than 4. My brain just being very dumb. Then I played against Mew on stream against Gaia Storm, another YouTube channel. They make content in Spanish. They're from Spain. Elena, a very pleasant opponent. It was her first time on stream. She was very nervous, but I tried my best to to like make it enjoyable. I actually stopped her a couple of times from making a few mistakes that could have led to penalties, but I didn't want that to happen. I won game one where she drew pretty bad, and then games 2 and 3 she completely rocked, and I ended up losing on stream. Then I won round 5 against Mew. Round 6 I beat Arceus Galarian Birds. Round 7 I beat Mew again, and then round 8 I play against Frank Persick, the finalist. And I offered him the ID. He thought about it. He knew he had a pretty good matchup against me, but that way we both guaranteed day 2, which was one of my goals, right? Because that meant like the bare minimum I needed was top 128 in order to secure a Charles Award for NEIC, which was my goal. And we ID'd that round, and then round 9 I lost to Kaiwan from Australia in a close Mew game where a Chromatic Head Flip got him out of the pass block, and he ended up turning the game around right there. So 6-1, 24th place, I believe, going into day 2. I had really good resistance because like 5 of my 9 opponents made day 2. 2 of them ended up in top 128, and then the 2 others didn't do so well, but I had a pretty tough tournament based on my opponents, right? Doing really well. And then day 2 started pretty well. Started with a 2-0 win against Mew, and then a 2-1 win against Arceus Galarian Birds, which was pretty good. And then round 12, I played against Frank Persick again. So now we actually had to play I won the coin flip, and I won game one honestly pretty easily. I felt like if I could repeat that on game three, I would be pretty fine. I knew I would lose game two if he got the turn to whimsical attack, and he got that, and my hand was terrible, so I had no chance there. But then in game three, I had a dead hand, three basics, none of which were Arceus, and I just got rolled over. Like I scooped within 5 minutes or less because my hand was just terrible. Honestly, pretty frustrating. I feel like that might have changed the whole tournament if I got a playable hand. If I actually got to play, the matchup felt pretty good. As long as you got the turn to attack, you could power up extra energy on your Arceus to protect yourself from Fan of Waves and Crushing Hammer, and then their damage output is way lower than yours. You get to power up other Pokemon with basic energy, and you have Choice Belt plus Quick Shooting to eventually one-shot a Whimsicott V-Star, whilst they're always two-shotting you if you chase down the energy correctly. So I don't know, frustrating loss, but I mean Frank's awesome, and I was really happy he got all the way to the final. Very impressed as well. So that was pretty cool. And then round 13, I beat Mew 2-0, and then the last round I played against Malamar. I didn't know I was playing against Malamar before the game started, so I ended up choosing to go first and discarding a Big Charm and the Shade Dealings until on turn 1 with Quick Balls, because I thought I was up against a mirror match. But then my opponent benched the Nigga, and I was like, well, that's not good. And I just never got going on game 1. I whiffed the attack plenty of times. And then on game 2, I also I didn't draw too bad, but he never whiffed the KO. Like he got the right combination of cards every time to knock me out each time. And I took 2 prizes, and my last 4 prizes were 2 Drizzle, my last Arceus VSTAR, and my second Big Charm. So it was just like mission impossible. So if I'd won that, I would have been top 16. I ended up going top 32, 160 championship points, $750, and the travel award for NAC by being, I believe I'm second place. I'm tied for second place in Latin America. So that was pretty awesome, right? Pretty happy with the result. And yeah, I mean, I really had a great time. I enjoyed competing. I enjoyed doing well. I can definitely tell that was really missing, and a big part of the frustration that could be seen in the last 2 years in my videos, it's because of the lack of that. But now that that's back, I can feel myself falling in love with Pokemon again. It's not complete yet, and unfortunately, the support on my channel and coaching has gone down, so Pokemon is no longer my full-time job, but perhaps it can be at a later point in the future once again. But yeah, that's gonna be it. Hopefully everything sounds okay, and no fancy intro, no fancy outro this time around, as I don't have my usual computer here. But hopefully you enjoyed. I appreciate the support. I appreciate the kind words, especially on Twitter. People are very supportive. And of course, 2 years later, the haters that had been crawling under rocks, waiting for me to play a tournament and do well to start coming out and criticizing me, are also back. So much love to them as well. Thanks so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.